Hey everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my shop. Today is June 15th and this is my weekly shop update. So a lot of things going on this week, so let's get into it. So the first thing I want to share is that this past weekend, Lindsay and I started on our flooring project. We got all the wood for that. It's all dry. We took it down and we started milling it up into flooring. Now we didn't get quite as far as we had hoped. It's a lot of work making flooring. So really all we got done was we've got a bunch of like 1x6s and a lot of like 1x3s and 1x4s. That's really as far as we were able to get over the entire weekend, and I still have some more planing to do. So we took out all of the rough lumber, we ripped them all rough down to 6 inches wide, and after I ripped down all the boards I had, I did some calculations to figure out how close I was to the total amount of wood that we would need to cover the entire floor, and we had like 70 pieces and I would need like 90 to cover the entire floor. So I was thinking, well, I could either go grab some more boards, or I have all these offcuts from ripping all these boards down to width, because a lot of my boards were wider than 6 inches. They were like 8s and 9s and 10s. So I had all these offcuts, so this strips that I cut off from all these other pieces. I'm like, well, I could certainly use some of the narrower stuff to use in the closet, because it's not going to be seen that much. So if there's like 2 or 3 inch wide strips in there, that's not going to be a problem. But I could also mix in some of those strips throughout the entire floor. So I have some 4 inch and some 3 inch that I think I'll mix in with the overall flooring, which is going to probably end up around 5 1/4 inches wide for each strip. And I'll have 4s and 3s that I can mix in as well to make up that extra square footage to get the entire floor covered without wasting a lot of material. I still have a lot of offcuts, so I'm going to probably be making more cutting board blanks. Yay! This weekend we're planning on cutting all the tongue and groove on all the flooring, and then whenever I get around to it, I can actually start installing that flooring, which would be a lot of work in itself, but looking forward to that because those boards we got were really awesome looking, and I'm really looking forward to making them into a floor. So that's going to be pretty cool. So the big thing in the shop this week, because that stuff was outside the shop, was the changing table. Now I got a lot of work done, and I have almost all of the case joinery done at this point. I just have a little bit more to go on this. Let me get this clamp out of the way. That didn't go so well. All right. So here is how far I've gotten so far. The top is half blind dovetailed into the sides, and then I have an upper shelf and a lower shelf, and that is in a dado, but it's kind of like a stub tenon. So it's like I don't know, it's kind of like a dado. It's a narrow dado. It's a 1/2 inch dado that's stopped, and then the panels are, I think this is like 7/8 and this is 3/4. And then it has a little stub tenon on it that goes into that dado, and then the front is notched around the dado onto the face of the side. So that's how this comes together, and that's pretty cool, but it doesn't really offer a whole lot of mechanical stability, I guess, holding that whole case together. So for this divider here, which these will be 2 drawers, this drawer divider is dovetailed into the case on both sides, and that locks the entire case together and keeps the sides from pulling apart or bowing. So now on the bottom, I also have that same panel concept as I do up here. Then I also have a lower rail, and this is going to get an arch cut out into it. And of course, I had to find a piece of stock that had some grain that was running in a curve, so that when I cut my curve out, the grain will follow that curve and look pretty nice. Now I went ahead and I dovetailed the lower divider into the case sides, and the problem with going in this direction here is the grain here in the pin, well, the grain in the pin is going to be a short grain, so it's going to break off really easily, and all my pins broke off already, which I figured was going to happen. And in this case, the dovetails here are they're a little more decorative than they are functional. They will still hold the case together. The top part here, this part here will still be good. There's still some mechanical advantage there when this gets glued in, but the little pin here, you can see I already glued that one in. That's just decorative, and then on the bottom as well as decorative as well. And then the back is going to get another drawer divider with my secondary wood, and that's going to be dovetailed into the back right beneath here, and then I'll have my runners that go perpendicular to the divider that the drawer run on. And then on the back side, similar to this one here, I'll have this is just a scrap that I'm going to cut a dovetail on both ends, and that'll help lock the case together in the back, and again keep those two case sides from pulling apart. So overall, a lot of great progress. Pretty much all of the case construction is pretty close to being done. Just have those two things left to install into the back side, and then the case will be done. And I can finish prep it and glue it up and make some drawers. So this is probably going to be done in the next couple of days, which is awesome because we need it. And then I can get back to working on the bassinet, which the mattress for that came in late last week sometime. So I can get back to working on that, and this will be ready to go into the house. So I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I really went pretty crazy on the book matching on this piece, so we'll see how that goes. The one last piece of book matching that's going to happen here is the drawer fronts. So I have the offcut from the book match that made up the top, and with that offcut I can get both of my drawer fronts out of that, so I'll have the book matched drawer fronts as well. So this is going to be it's going to be pretty crazy, but it's kind of fun to experiment with that sometimes. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this thing done, because it's been a really fun experiment with the little bit of sapwood and all the book matching. So it's going to be really cool to see how that all turned out. Now, one thing I didn't mention about the boards that I used for this entire piece, and I thought it was worth mentioning, is every single board I used here are boards that were picked through when I'm selling my lumber. So these are all like the leftovers that no one wanted to buy, which is kind of interesting to me. Because to me, these are the best boards, and they were picked over because maybe they had too much sap in them. Like the boards I used for the panels here, they had sap on one face, and people didn't like that. And the boards that I used for the case, the top and the sides and the drawer fronts, they were just cut, and they didn't look that well cut. They had a little bit of waviness to the cut, and they just didn't have a consistent thickness, and they were passed over. So a couple more things that got done this week is I finished setting up the XCarve. I got that thing set up and it's running, and I ran my little test program, which is this little guy right here, this little mat guy. And then if you're curious, this is what happens when your tension on your V-wheels is too tight on your X-axis. I think that's the X-axis, right? I always get this axis mixed up. X-axis, yes. That's the X-axis. If the X-axis can't move freely, you'll get something that looks like that or like that. But that was a quick solve. Just change those eccentric nuts a little bit to loosen them, and it's running just fine. So I'm sure I'll have a lot of fun little projects to do with that thing. So one last thing I did this last week is I finally formed and poured the rain cap for my chimney for my patio. Now I've been kind of just haven't gotten around to doing that for the longest time, and I probably won't be able to set that rain cap up there for a while. I think it took a little over 4 bags of concrete, 4 80-pound bags, so it's probably about 350 pounds, and that's going to be 8 feet in the air, and it's going to be resting on 4 pillars that are sitting on top of the chimney cap itself. So that's going to be fun to do as well. So I do have that video about making those concrete caps, and I know I've been promising to put that out for a long time now, and maybe I will finally get that done within the next week or two, because I have this list of videos that I have in my queue that I still need to edit and put out, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I think that's about all I have for this week. I think that's about it. Thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments about anything I talked about today or anything here in my shop, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I appreciate those, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.